Okay, now it's time to start. Welcome to the October 21st regular meeting of the Jacksonville Beach City Council. We'll begin with the invocation, followed by a salute to the flag led by Mr. Jansen. Please rise.
Let us pray. Good, gracious Heavenly Father, as I lift my brother and sister up in prayer this evening, I just ask you to help us live with purpose. Lord, help us learn to live, to serve others as it would please you. Lord, we just thank you for all the blessings you give us each and every day. Lord, I ask you to look over our first responders and to look over those families that have tragically lost some loved ones in the past couple of weeks. Lord, we just thank you for your son Jesus, for it's in his name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, roll call. Councilmember Golding. Here. Councilmember Horn.
Here.
Councilmember Jansen.
Here.
Councilmember Meza.
Here.
Councilmember Sutton.
Here.
Councilmember Wagner.
Here.
Mayor Hoffman. Here. Moving on to approval of minutes, item A.
I move that we approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting held on October 7th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B.
I move that we approve the minutes from the city council briefing held on October 14th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Horn.
There's one, sorry, I'm trying to get it come back up again. I just lost. I apologize. Hang on. We need to get better Wi-Fi in here. Sorry. I'm talking to my city councilman about that. Sorry, it's just a little thing.
So there was the mayor Ader in there? Is that one?
No, I missed that. Right at the end, Councilmember Horn about the red line version. I just wanted to note that it was mentioned that it would be made available to all of us prior to passing. It would be made available to council and available for review prior to submittal.
Are you proposing an amendment to the
Yes,
minutes?
sorry.
Can you state it in form of an
I would make an
amendment?
amendment that we would add in that it was stated that the updated land development code will be made available to review by all of the current council and stakeholders prior to being asked to vote on said.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the proposed amendment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other discussion on the original motion? Seeing none, approval of minutes, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Announcements. Oh, I have to give it to Golding. I'm sorry, Lisa. Ms. Golding.
It's not a competition. If you want to go first, you can.
It's a competition for me.
Oh, is it? Okay. Okay, let's see. Just real quickly, want to mention that today starts early voting, of course, which everybody knows, but also Florida City Government Week. And so I would just encourage you to watch our social media pages because the city is sharing a lot of really good information to help everyone get a better understanding about what your local government does. And I want to thank Jacob for doing that as well. And going back to early voting, if anybody has not made up your minds who you want to vote for locally, Beaches Watch did a candidate forum last week, and you can actually watch the video of that candidate forum. You can also learn more about the candidates' positions on issues. There's a written questionnaire that the candidates completed, and just go to beacheswatch.com, and hopefully that will help you learn a little bit more about the candidates so you can make an informed decision before you vote. And please plan to vote. And then last but not least, the Jacks Beach Police Department has an amazing Halloween party every year for the kiddos. And this year it's going to be Saturday, October 26th from 6 to 9 at our South Beach Park Community Center. There'll be games and lots of really cool demos that, like, the police department will have stuff out there so that the kids can actually see and touch some of the things that the police department, equipment and that sort of thing. And I think the fire department will have fire trucks and then, of course, there'll be candy. So, encourage you to take your kids out there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Mr. Mesa.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Two congratulations, kudos to go on to. First, the swim and dive team from Fletcher High School. They brought in first place. Stanton and Wilson High School were tough competitors for both girls and boys teams, but the local beach rats pulled it out for a sixth consecutive year in girls and second consecutive year in boys. There was many first place, second and third place, so congratulations to our Fletcher dive team and swim team. And as a band geek, I know Fletcher Marching Band won an award or contest this weekend. So as a band geek, yay, congratulations to Fletcher. Thank you.
Mr. Jansen, I think we're going to hear something about the Fletcher Band.
Yes, we are. So Fletcher, my son's in Fletcher Band, so it helps. So Fletcher Band had a competition this past weekend in Orange Park High School, and they took away overall grand champions for their Division 2A division. So there's different divisions in the band competitions based on school size and the size of the band. So overall grand champions, so mad applause for them and their efforts in that. And don't forget, early voting.
And I will say that if you're wondering what we're doing to celebrate Local Government Week, this is it. This is what a local government celebration looks like. A great city council meeting with a room full of folks. I also want to add, in addition to the police department's Halloween event, we have changed Seawalk sessions. I'm watching Mommy to nod along because I forgot to look it up again. And that's going to be on the 30th, along with a trunk or treat right out here in Latham Plaza. Free and open for people to attend. There's normally a food truck out there, so come on down and enjoy trunk or treat right here in the heart of Jacksonville Beach. Okay, any other announcements? Moving on to courtesy of the floor to visitors. LaShonda Lisi, please correct me if I got that wrong. Come on up and you have 3 minutes. Start with your name and address and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good afternoon, council. My name is LaShonda Lisi. I am an intergovernmental congressional affairs specialist for FEMA. So as of right now, I am the IGA specialist for your county for Jacksonville, or Duval rather, Jacksonville Beach. So as of October 11th, Duval County was included in the Federal Disaster Declaration for DR 4834. So this means that everyone who resides within Duval County, you guys are eligible to apply for FEMA assistance. It is non-taxable income. It doesn't affect any government assistance. And there's also no income requirement. So just couldn't get that part out of there. So far, you guys have 60 days, or your counties rather, have 60 days from the date of the declaration to apply for assistance. So that means that the deadline to apply is going to be December 11, 2024. So far, there have been a couple of disaster recovery centers that have been opened in Indian River County, Martin County, and St. Lucia County. But this is not to be confused. You do not have to live in or be a resident of those counties to go to a DRC and apply for assistance. A DRC is a disaster recovery center. So typically residents will go there. You don't need anything to go to the DRC to apply for assistance. But if and when you receive a call from FEMA that lets you know that a home inspector will come out to look at the damages, review the damages, from there may be more supplemental support and documentation that's required. But so far, there We have had a couple of improvements since March of 2024. And I'll just let you guys know what is available so far for this disaster through individual assistance. So there's serious needs assistance. This is a one-time payment that usually covers those immediate needs. So this would be like food, clothes, gas, shelter. And there's also a transitional shelter assistance that's been made available as well for those survivors who are currently displaced from their homes. There's also displacement assistance in addition to the transitional sheltering assistance. And also, please note, if and when residents or survivors are contacted, it may be a strange number, but no one from FEMA will ever request payment for any of our services, even the home inspectors. So we always ask everyone to be aware of fraud, be very alert of fraud. FEMA will typically call you from different numbers, so if when they call, just answer the phone, give very reliable contact information so we can get in contact with you. And Operation Blue Roof has been activated for this particular disaster, so they are going through counties and they are distributing tarps. These are blue tarps that go on the roofs of the houses. And so there are 3 ways to apply for disaster assistance. You can visit disasterassistance.gov, and it's spelled the way it sounds, disasterassistance.gov. You could call 1-800-621-3362. And you could also download the FEMA app. But I am specifically the point of contact for the elected officials. So if and when you guys receive citizen inquiries, or let's just say someone complains about damages or assistance with their FEMA cases, and they decide, oh, I'm going to my city council, my local officials, let the problem be known, you just refer them to me, and I'll try to help them as much as possible. But if and when y'all have time, I'd love to schedule one-on-one, like follow-up interviews, meetings with all of you guys to sit down and talk and discuss the dynamics of your districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lisi. Thankfully, I don't think very many of our residents will need to avail themselves of these services, but it's nice to know that they're there if and when we do need them. So thank you for coming out this evening. Leslie Dudley.
Hi, I'm Leslie Dudley. I live at 246 Cayman Court in a small neighborhood in between 25th and 30th Avenue South called South Beach Village. I've lived in Jacksonville Beach for 23 years, and I'm proud to say it's my home, and I'm happy that you guys are here to help support and make our community what it is, stellar. Over the years, I've noticed some truck parking on 3rd Street, and I've never really noticed it all that much until, I want to say maybe after like 2020, maybe it was COVID, maybe I had nothing to do but look for trucks. But it has become quite an issue, and quite an issue that I think is very serious. The Avalon community, which is located, as we may know, by Home Depot, had trucks parking there, and I did notice that some truck parking, no truck parking paint lines were added there. Great solution. The problem is that those trucks have now migrated north, upward to other homes within that area, up to 25th Avenue South. These trucks are causing an obvious nuisance to us. We've called repeatedly to the police to let them know of our concern. Mostly safety issues. We don't know if the truckers are sleeping in there overnight. We also don't know what's in the trucks. They do leave the trucks unattended. And if they're, who knows what's inside, and if they're not there, it would be up to us. So it is a safety concern. On top of that, the noise, they have generators that run at all hours of the night. Because their trucks are so close, I do have several pictures that I can furnish to you that show just how close these are to our homes. The sound of the trucks actually shake our windows. So that's what we go to sleep with. So the other thing too is the height of the trucks and the proximity to our homes. They can virtually see into our homes. Again, another safety issue. And then lastly, but still important, they negatively affect our home values. So I'm speaking on behalf of the South Beach Village community specifically, but I run along 3rd Street and I see all the homes from Jacksonville Drive to 25th, including our neighborhood, that are also feeling this negative impact. So I'm speaking on behalf of everybody, and I am aware that it is a state highway, and I know that there's things that we can do locally, and we might be fighting a little bit of, toughness, shall we say? But I think as long as they've done the courtesy of painting those lines by Avalon, it certainly would be a nice courtesy to extend to respect the homeowners of everyone else where those trucks have gone. And there is plenty of other parking that is more in a commercial zone, that if those trucks were to park there, they wouldn't really be impacting residents. And I saved time.
I have 15 seconds left. Thank you.
Do you all want the pictures?
You can give them to the city clerk, and I will say we did just speak about this at our last briefing, so the minutes are in this packet if you want to kind of get an update on where we are with that, because that'll give you some insight into kind of what we're up against.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dudley. Mr. Kevin Brown. And then Coach Brown. Thank you, Coach.
Kevin Brown, Coach Brown, 1833 Kings Court. So I've been trying to get in here for several meetings. I want to compliment y'all. I know you don't get that a whole lot. The proactive that we did with the pipes, the dunes are in great shape. They have planted over 300,000 COs. We're already starting to collect sand in the COs that were there prior to that. I measured the last 2 days, we've already collected like 6 and 8 inches of sand on those crests. So I just want to say thanks on behalf of all the people that volunteered with me. We were really excited. Those guys planting them were even more excited. As they went down the beach, they would say things like, are these pipes permanent? And I said, well, we try to keep them maintenance because they felt a lot better about putting that valued plant in an area that they thought nobody would trample over, because they told me horror stories about communities down south. So you guys did great. You did great. I appreciate it. And I know you got tired of my texts, but I'm on that beach every day, and I will let you know what's going on. The only thing I ask, and we can be proactive again, is I've worked with Neptune Beach and Atlantic Beach in doing some really good permanent signs. You may have seen them, they're aluminum. I finished up Neptune Beach today. Atlantic Beach has them in place. They decided not to go with a lot of rope for reasons on theirs, but there are signs every 50 feet from Atlantic Boulevard all the way to Hannah Park. We do need some signage. You guys did a great effort with the paper, but it's gone. But these, we need to look into these that'll be around for a while. And once again, I'll be happy to get a crew together and we can put them out there. So once again, thank you. I always appreciate it when y'all support our little projects. So the dunes are looking good, and we just got to survive some northeasters. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before you sit down, not to put you on the spot, but I know you can handle it. Do you want to provide a brief comment on your thoughts on Tiger dams?
Yes, let's talk. Can I get another? So here's my problem with the Tiger dams. And to me, I'm going to start with this. We got to use some common sense. Now, when those accesses were originally put with sand dunes, that was me and Charlie Latham on the phone. And I said, we're going to get 20 feet. So I did not know that you got fined $25,000 from the DEP. But what I said to Charlie was, Mayor Latham, you want millions of dollars of water on the First Street, or do you want to pay a $25,000 fine? He goes, we're paying the fine. Now, since then, these tiger dams, if that water had come up, I'm out there all the time. By no means have I seen it, but I've seen the tiger dams used around utilities, and JEA uses those tiger dams for their pumping stations. And I have also seen those used as booms in the Gulf during the oil spill. So I've been around that and seen it. There was no way that those tiger dams were stopping any water. That water was going to seep through or go underneath. Y'all, that's why we don't have rocks anymore. That's why we don't have a seawall. Because water finds a way. So what I've done is put in a phone call to Trey Hatch, which he hadn't returned it yet, because I want to negotiate some common sense where if we are under an emergency, like a hurricane, I took a rod and I went back on the backside of the accesses. I went out about 20 feet and I was still hitting concrete. So yeah, we won't pull the sand off the beach. We're going to get it from behind and we're going to stack it up. So these are things we need to talk about. Season's almost over. I don't think we're going to get anything anymore. But that's fine. The water temps are dropping. I feel good. So I'll make that statement. I feel good. Okay? I'll look at those water temps 3 times a week. We need to start talking about it now. We need to use some common sense. That needs to be waived during an emergency because you battle nature with nature. That's how you beat nature. You battle nature with nature. And then the last thing I'm going to say is we've been living in it and on it for a long time. We got to start learning how to live with it. Okay? And y'all need to look into that. I'm not going to get it done. I got no bite. Okay? But a $25,000 fine for protecting millions of dollars of residential and commercial property, that makes no sense to me. That just doesn't make sense. So thank you for bringing it up. I'm happy I got this.
I thank you for, I knew you'd be able to fill that 3 minutes. And probably, and then some about the tiger dams. We appreciate your feedback and all you do for our coastline. Moving on to consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. City manager, new business. Item A, chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Gene Paul Smith, Chief of Police. Mayor, if you let me give me a little bit of latitude, this, for a couple minutes, this will also affect the grant I'm briefing y'all on. This is the first real chance I've had to give you our status over at the police department. Current situation, we have, we're hiring 4 additional officers, 4 more officers on November 4th. That'll leave me only a total of 4 vacancies, and we have 2 vitals for those 2, and we haven't even posted next month's test yet for a physical ability test. I anticipate us getting all the way full and getting everybody out of training hopefully by spring. This stands in stark contrast to where I was, where we were 6 months ago, nearly 6 months ago. It's shocking, the quality of applicants that have come in. 2 months ago compared to now, we're actually getting candidates coming in and they're experienced and they're very good candidates. We're being a little picky, like we always are, but we're being even pickier now because we can afford to be. You know, we've always had a real strong culture and a real a great police department, fantastic department, but the pay, of course, it's wonderful. It's the highest, we're the highest paid north of Central Florida for now. That's temporary, as it is everywhere. You know, it's going to be a consistent struggle over the next few years. I want to tell the council the symbolism of what occurred more than 1 or 2 months ago will last long past my time here and long after this council leaves. I just reached my 30th anniversary last Thursday, And that not in 30 years have I experienced what I experienced in the last month as far as us working together as a community. The symbolic nature of what y'all are willing to do and the citizen support for us and everything, the equipment and the city leadership that was in place is really unprecedented. I've talked to the FOP reps, and they're not aware of anything occurring like this ever in their tenure. As far as a mid-contract adjustment, and as far as after a critical incident, and everybody was positive and everybody worked together. Matter of fact, the picture that we all took up here not more than a couple months ago, all of us together when the contract was approved, was on the state FOP newsletter. And both our FOP reps and myself have received calls from all over saying, how did y'all do it? Well, it's kind of hard to explain because it happened so organically, and it really was a group effort, and there really was no plan when we started on St. Patrick's Day, the day after. We just kind of went in one direction, and we all went together, and I said in my report, I provided y'all the next week, that if we stop and listen to each other, we're all saying the same things, whether it be the council, the citizens, or the union, or the employees, or the command staff, or city leadership. And we all kind of found that common ground and worked together. And really, it's been, y'all have done a wonderful job just supporting us. And it seems like a pretty popular decision, not just among my officers, but also to the people who live and work in this community. So I just want to kind of give you some feedback. You know, it's the first time in a long time that I haven't had to wake up and check my emails to see who's leaving, who's coming, and who's going, and how short are we, and how bad things are going to be over the next 6 months with the shortages that we've always endured. No matter how good our police department was, I've always known it for the last 30 years, we've always been shorthanded. So it's going to be nice. It's nice for once, at least for the past 6 weeks. I've rode the wave. I've enjoyed every second because in Jack's Beach you get in tomorrow. It's really been nice. I can concentrate and focus on other things, looking to the future, and not this constant plugging holes in a dike or a dam trying to stop the flood from coming. This is the really first chance it's been appropriate for me to come up in front of you and give you this briefing. I know many of you have been asking, and you've been keeping up with our progress, and it really is just I had a staff meeting today, and it's just wonderful. The future looks bright, and I'm very pleased and very optimistic about it. If everything goes to plan, we'll be able to send a message like we did a few years back in March and April per the memo I sent you. We're going to concentrate on some other things this winter, and then next spring we're going to set the tone for about 2 months for the next year coming up. And y'all know me, I'm going to set the tone. So the final opportunity to thank you, city leadership, Mike and Karen, and my fellow department directors, the elected officials, and the citizens who supported us. All y'all have supported us. And thank you for your trust in me and my department and my agency to kind of step off a cliff, kind of blindfolded. You're going to give me all this money, but we're going to do good things with it, and we already have. And of course, thank you to the best staff in the country. That's my staff. So I just wanted to make that statement before we go any further. Speaking now of the grant, this is something we didn't share too much of because we were unsure of how it was going to turn out. So when y'all also gave me 4 additional positions, also let me back up, we're starting to reseed all our specialized units again. So we actually have almost all the units at least 50% up to speed, and we anticipate they'll all be fully staffed by December. So speaking of that, the 4 extra positions I got this year, we anticipate to fill those here, like I said, before the first of the year. And we also put in for, I call it a universal hiring grant. Some of y'all that have been around will call it a COPS grant. Take you back to the Clinton mid-90s era, it used to be a COPS grant. I call it the Universal Hiring Grant. It goes by different names. We applied for a grant for 4 positions. Rick Scott and John Rutherford called me personally after St. Patrick's Day, says, is there anything I can do for you? I said, no, not right now, but answer your phone in about 4 months. So they did. They called me back, one from Rutherford from the floor of the House, and Rick Scott as soon as he left the Senate chambers. And they put in a good word for us with the DOJ, and we got approved for the grant. It's a 3-year grant. It funds us about $40,000 a year per officer for 3 years, totaling $500,000 that goes back into our budget for partial payment for those 4 officers. So that's real good news. And also, the caveat is we have to keep those positions for 3 years after that, or it'll be supplanted. And we can't supplant, which one not. It's got to be an increase, which it was. And Commander Bingham and for some reason Molly volunteered to apply and run the grant, which I don't know. She must have been feeling ill that day. So knowing how those universal hiring grants go, you got to justify hours and time and every day and every hour. So she's in for it. Also, Commander Bingham kind of walked her through it because he's familiar with it. So the total is $500,000 over 3 years for the 4 officers. And it's reimbursable each time we submit about every quarter, I believe it's reimbursable. So I come to you with a little bit of good news, and like I said, I don't think Mike and I wanted to give you anything with this because they were mutually exclusive. Mike wanted to make sure that was clear to everybody in this room that the grant had nothing to do with us getting 4 positions. One was not contingent upon the other, and kudos to him for doing that because he took a risk. And we didn't announce it, but it's been finalized, and I just wanted to give you good news. I'll take any questions at this point.
Thank you, Chief. Can we have a motion?
I move that we accept the Department of Justice Award for the Community-Oriented Policing Services Hiring Program Grant for $500,000 for additional funding for 4 new positions in the police department.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Jansen.
First off, thank you for the kind words, Chief, number 1. But number 2, you've earned it. Your department does an amazing job. And the process is not as simple as people think, especially when you're mid-contract. It takes a little bit of work on the city's behalf. It takes a little bit of work on the FOP's behalf. It takes a little bit of work on everybody's behalf, the council included. And so I'm excited, coming from obviously my career in law enforcement, that we were able to accomplish this. And let's hope that we can keep this narrative going well into the future. Thank you for everything.
Mr. Mesa?
Likewise, Chief, you and your department have done, very much with very little. This community obviously has done a lot with very little. The narrative that has been going on for the past 8, 9, 10 years with defund the police has taken a toll on many cities. It's unfortunate, and I know for a fact that it won't happen here. As long as we all live here and we support Leo's, we will have a safe community, we will have progress. So I encourage everyone to hold their negative thoughts on law enforcement. If you have a bad experience, don't hold that against everyone in the field. That's not what resembles law enforcement. They go into running into bullets. They go into cars underwater if they have to go in and save someone's life when the fire department's not there. So I think our law enforcement deserves more respect now more than ever, especially when we have people that don't want to be officers, not because they don't want to be in, just because they're not respected, sometimes by the community or the elected officials. And here, every single official here respects law enforcement, and the community does. So I'm very happy that we have this grant, and I will highly encourage and recommend staff to seek 80 grants available that the department can qualify for, especially if it's going to help offset the cost for the police department. And I'm always thinking ahead, being proactive, and I want you guys to have whatever you guys need, especially to keep you guys safe and keep this community safe. So, thumbs up.
Ms. Golden?
Just real quick, I want to say thank you to Molly and to Commander Bingham and anybody else who is involved in this grant process. $500,000 is a lot of money that our taxpayers are not going to be paying, and that's huge. So thank you all very much.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Goldie,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. You look like you're getting ready to try to leave. Are you trying to leave, Chief? Okay. He looks a little scared of you. This is fun. You stole my thunder a little bit. Chief mentioned that he is celebrating 30 years with the city of Jacksonville. I know.
Where's the cake?
You're gonna hate this. I know, it's okay. So as a city manager, city council form of government, the city council only has 2 staff. They're seated on either side of me. So recognizing staff is normally reserved to the city manager, but he let me take this one, and I think it's because he knows how much Chief Smith is gonna hate it. So nicely done, Mr. Stefopoulos. So this is your life. Chief Smith began his employment with the city of Jacksonville Beach in 1994. Where were you all at that time? He became a police officer with no prior law enforcement experience, and he was assigned to patrol. In 1995, he was selected for his first specialty position as a school resource officer
Don't tell anybody.
at Fletcher Middle School until 1997, and I can just imagine him haunting the halls with a bunch of middle schoolers, cutting up and everything. 1997, he picks up a supervisor position as a corporal assigned to patrol midnight shift. In 1999, he was promoted to sergeant, become sergeant and plank holder of the new program called the CRT, Community Response Team. In 2002, he was promoted to lieutenant, now called commander. He served in all 3 divisions, patrol, detectives, and services on a rotational basis twice. In 2019, he was appointed chief of police after a nationwide search. So basically, this is a story of coming up through the ranks and becoming chief, and even in a national search that was very competitive with a lot of great applicants and candidates. A few other accomplishments: he implemented and designed a new program called the CRT, Community Response Team. The unit becomes adopted and added to the detective division full-time, has a team of 7 others, and the unit is still active today called SIU, Special Investigations Unit. He was a SWAT team member and SWAT team commander for over 20 years. He attended FDLE's Senior Leadership Program, received a bachelor's and a master's degree while employed. He is a certified criminal justice instructor, incident command team instructor in emergency management, adjunct instructor at the University of North Florida in the areas of drug unit commander, high-risk search warrant, and SWAT basic school. Attendance and completion of over a dozen career development classes, and he oversaw dozens of grants and equipment purchases, one of which you just heard about. A few notable recent issues, helping get the city through the COVID crisis. Remember when we closed the beaches? Let's not think about that. Nationwide staffing shortages and civil unrest with local protests here at the beaches. Cyber event earlier this year, and communication with our Fraternal Order of Police regarding pay raises, restaffing, and our current situation, which you also heard an update on today. We're really proud to have Chief Smith's family as part of our family, his lovely wife Gail, John Paul, who is a JSO deputy, Zachary, who is a firefighter in Suwannee County, and of course, we cannot forget Duke, the family dog. I'm sorry, Drake. Who gave me? So, although I'm your second favorite mayor, the first being Mayor Brown, if you ever see her, she loves to hear that. So even though I'm your second favorite mayor, you will always be my chief, and I want to thank you and congratulate you for 30 years.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and Board President, everybody absolutely do hate this. Thank you for everything, thank you for your support, and sorry for a couple good years left in me, so we'll see you. Thank you.
Gotta get your certificate. You know there's a group and grid photo op coming. Someday I'll be your favorite. Got it? Let's do one more. Bring it back up a little bit. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
It was about halfway through that I remember he has a gun. And a taser. Bill and Fernando know. Okay, moving on. Okay, Mr. Barron, now you can come on.
Well, I thank you for letting me follow that. Mayor Council, Dennis Barron, Public Works Director. I'm here with my first item, which has 4 parts, but it is the project, the CRA project for America Drive improvements going from basically Republic down to Jacksonville Drive. This ties into the work that we had just completed on Jacksonville Drive. This is the second phase, final phase of this particular project because the CRA boundary is at Republic. So this project will get us outside of the CRA. This is a drainage, roadway, sidewalks, improvement, street improvement. That's going to be going through there, basically concentrating mainly on drainage and attaching the drainage that we put in the Jacksonville Drive to be able to collect up additional drainage in this area and move it on through that system that we put in on Jacksonville Drive. And so we did this through the normal local procurement policy and everything. I'm here for any other questions you may have above and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. We'll have a motion on the first part.
I move that we award bid number 2324-14 to Petticoat Schmidt Civil Contractors, Inc. for construction of the America Avenue Drainage Project for an amount not to exceed $1,598,902.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Madam Clerk, roll call. I'm sorry, Ms. Golden.
When is this work expected to start?
I can't have a pre-construction meeting until you all approve the money. So once we get through tonight, we'll reach back out to the contractor, let them know that we're ready to go. They'll begin the process of going through shop drawings. So, realistically, you're probably talking right after the first of the year before it actually gets construction going. Depends on how quick they can get anything they have to order in and then how long it takes for that.
And I believe it said in the documentation that it's expected to take 6 months?
Yes, that's the timeline for it.
Okay, who's going to be responsible for communicating with the residents during this project?
So we work together with Petticoat Schmidt. They'll have to do flyers to notify people of what's going on in that particular area. There will be some traffic diversions. Obviously, this is a feeder down to Jack's Drive, which a lot of people use to get to JTB. So depending on what work's going on and where they have to do, we may have to divert traffic back down Osceola, down to South Beach Parkway temporarily. But not, shouldn't be anything too horrible. And I do know, like I said, Petticoat has to clear all of their communications to the public through us. So anything they're posting, we end up putting on our website as well.
I just ask these questions because some of us who were on the council back in when 11th Avenue South, I think, was being done, and there was a lot of angst and issues with Petticoat Schmidt and the experiences that some of the residents had. I'm hoping that we will not have the same experience with this, since this is obviously a very residential project, right? So I hope that anything can be done to make sure that the communication is very good with the residents. The only other thing I wanted to ask about, and I'm assuming maybe I can ask it in this, for this motion, but in the scope of services, there was mention about HPS holding monthly progress meetings if required during the course of the project. Are we going to require monthly progress meetings?
So normally those progress meetings, because of the bid being not to exceed, if we don't have any concerns and everything seems to be going well, we don't hold those meetings because there's no new information, because we're having good communication. Similar to Petticoat working downtown right now, you know, we're getting decent communication with them. We're solving problems as they come up. We're addressing problems earlier, so we're hoping not to have a meeting every single month, but monthly is pretty routine depending on what work may be done. So sometimes we have to call in weekly meetings depending on what might be happening. Sometimes we do monthly. It just depends on what we see out of the contractor and what kind of information we're getting back.
Okay, when I read that, it concerned me a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that we're going to have meetings.
It's a caveat we put in there simply because sometimes we have these meetings and we have 5 engineers that are billing us upwards of $200 an hour, show up at my office, and an hour later they all leave, and it just costs us $1,000, and I have zero new information at the end of the meeting. So it doesn't seem like it's a good cost benefit for us to do, especially when we can do some of these via telephone calls and not have to necessarily meet all on site or all in my office to be able to have that conversation. So we try to do that depending on the job and then how much interference or how much construction is going on. So
Thank you, I appreciate the explanation.
Mr. Horn?
Can you pull up the picture from the previous picture? Okay, just the way I looked at that, and initially when it popped up, it looked like we were doing something on Sanctuary, because Sanctuary Boulevard has it curves back that way, but this is only on America, because I couldn't find it in the documents.
correct, it is on America. We're on the right of way of America. So America has houses along the east side, and the west side is actually the wooded area that's between America and Sanctuary. So they are going to be putting, I think they're putting some drainage on that west side of the road as well.
And then on top of the drainage, there's going to be a sidewalk on the west side of the road, correct? There's a sidewalk on both sides of the road. There's a 5-foot sidewalk on one side, the way I read this, I'm not an engineer, and then 8 foot on the other side.
I'd have to check on that one and get back to you because I don't recall that from the plans. I didn't bring them with me, so I can't rip them up.
And I agree with Councilwoman Golding in that there's been, as we've moved into the election season, one of the things that both the incumbents and the candidates are hearing is that the citizens want more communication. We could, even if we went around as council members to every person in the neighborhood once a day, somebody would want it twice a day and knock on their doors. You know, we can always do better, so I just want to make sure that we do the best we can in informing them and also making sure that we hold this contractor accountable and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing on time, you know, and the citizens are getting what they deserve as far as service and the expenditure of their tax dollars.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jansen?
I was just going to piggyback on basically what Councilman Horn said, that with having everything in place communication-wise, I think we can even add it to take 2 Tuesdays. And as I just mentioned, when the timing is right.
Sounds fair, as long as I can find somebody that wants to be on camera. I'm not a big camera fan. Sometimes that
I
seems
think
to
you
struggle
would
as to who
excellent.
needs to do it. I'm sure I can, I just rather have somebody else do it, my choice. But
Mr. Wagner?
Councilman Horn already covered this a little bit, but I would like to understand the sidewalk component, because that isn't a really heavily foot trafficked area. I don't think that there's no sidewalk on the west side.
Currently, no.
And there's a lot of foot traffic in the road. And then north or west of that, those sidewalks are in kind of rough shape, as we've talked about previously. So, if that's not in scope, maybe we can think about making either this project or some other subsequent project, getting that to a better place. Thank you. I know you love all that.
Any other comments on item 1? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Item 2.
I move that we authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate and execute any contract as a result of this bid award.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Do you have anything to add on the construction administration and inspection?
Other than just construction administration is being done by Hanson, which was the original design engineer for this project, and they also did all of the Jacksonville Drive project previously, so confident in what they're doing and what they know what they're doing down there, so the second part of that is the construction admin side for that.
Thank you. Oh, do we do, motion, go ahead.
I move that we award an agreement for construction administration and construction inspection services to Hanson Engineering for an amount not to exceed $48,374.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. If you guys can turn off your mics when you're not using them, we're getting some feedback. Item 4.
I move that we authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate and execute any contract as a result of this award.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to C, pump station.
Our second item I have for you for your consideration, Mayor and Council, Dennis Barron, Public Works Director, still. This is for bid number 2324-13, so this involves two separate areas. So it's actually the central, what we call the central pump station basin, which is between 12th and 13th Avenue South. And then the south pump station, which is down on the other side of Marsh Landing Parkway. These two basins are two city primarily used stormwater outlets. Stormwater pump stations have exceeded their life, actually barely running at this point in time. So the fact that we're through a storm season, almost through a storm season, is really good. We are limping by until we can get this project completed, but this project is part of the original Downtown 3C Project 3. So this is a continuation of the downtown project, primarily because the water that we collect on the downtown project where we're doing actually ultimately ends up coming through here to be able to be disposed of out through the intercoastal. So again, we bid this and we ended up PBM being the lowest bidder of the two. Both pump stations are similar, however, there's quite a bit more additional work on the central basin pump station having to do with the bar screen and how it's going to react to be able to collect garbage and stuff compared to what we have now, which is not very good. So that's why there's additional cost in that one compared to the other one. Otherwise, the two pump stations are almost identical. And this one does not have a construction admin or CDI services. We reviewed the money we had left available from our design work. We have enough money available to be able to cover that. We'll just be able to add an additional task by a change order through their original award that you've already made. So we don't need to have that side on this piece.
Thank you, Mr. Barron, and a motion on item 1.
I move that we award bid number 2324-13, Central and South Basin Pump Station Improvements to PBM Constructors for an amount not to exceed $3,494,590.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Horn.
You referenced the previous bid, and I guess I thought we had already approved a bunch of work on this. Which one's the central? That's the one in the middle. The central. Sorry, I'm making sure. Yeah, central. So I thought we just approved a bunch of probably close to $1 million for work on this area, did we not? Or is that something different?
It must have been the design work that you're thinking of, which would have been for the design of the Central Basin and the South Basin. There's also some design work that went out with that same package that involves cleaning out that Central Basin to get it back to permitted capacity. That's not part of this work. That will be a subsequent bid that we have coming in at a later time. We didn't want to have somebody trying to clean out all the desilting that central canal at the same time they're trying to rebuild the pump station. So we felt better about getting the pump stations in because we had failures. And then we're going to come back with another award here pretty quick. I'm hoping to get it out on the street pretty quick to be able to clean out that Central Basin and get it back to permitted capacity again.
And again, I apologize, I misunderstood you, but you said you guys already have approved something we're going to tack on to this previously approved.
It was the design work for the project.
Design work. Okay, my apologies. So then my next questions are, so we approve this, it gets done, these miracles occur, and it somehow happens, so I don't know anything but engineering, but how long will this last?
So unfortunately, we have had a situation in Jacksonville Beach where we installed stormwater structures and we build these wonderful devices to be able to move stormwater, and then everybody walks away and forgets about them, and we've not been really good on maintenance. So that's why we're having a lot more stormwater failures than what we've had before. So we've now got those included as part of our routine maintenance stuff that's being going on. Before me coming here, we weren't necessarily doing a good job of the maintenance for stormwater stations. We were building them, rained, it went away, everybody cheered, and it was all fine. Nobody wanted to bother to look to say, well, are these pumps having issues, problems? Are we losing capacity? Are they wearing down? Or do we need to be replacing any of them? So we're finding quite a bit of those that we're inspecting that have been put in the ground and let sit for 20 years and not have any maintenance done to them. So, you know, in essence, what will this last? It should last 20 years, especially with the increased amount of bar screening that we're going to be able to capture. That keeps the junk from ultimately ending up inside the pumps and damaging the pumps. So hope to do it at least that long.
So the life expectancy is 20 years. When were these last done? The ones that were not maintained?
I don't have that information handy. I have to look it up and get back to you on that one.
Okay. I would just hope that we would, again, nobody here would go out and buy a fancy new Mercedes-Benz and not change the oil in it. And this is not, we're not buying a Mercedes-Benz, the taxpayers are. So I just want to make sure, yeah, we need to make sure we're doing exactly what you're saying, is taking care of the things that we're spending a lot of money on. Thank you.
Mr. Jansen?
For the benefit of our citizens. So, yeah, we're doing improvements here. What is the cost difference between just a full-on replacement versus the improvements? Or are we talking about just replacing the entire pump?
So these pumps will all be brand new. Pumps and motors and everything will all be brand new. And then the additional enhancements, like I said, on the Central Basin will involve the bar screening and capturing that in advance, as well as being able to get those up. It's hard to explain, but if you're in the bottom of that and you're raking the garbage and stuff that collects, and you put it in buckets, and then you got to climb the hill to get back to the top, it's not the easiest thing to do in the world, especially on a really tricky ladder that's not even really good at all. So anyway, we're making some improvements to be able to get our people down to the stormwater level. They'll also be on the Central Basin and on the South Basin. I think we're actually increasing that weir height that's at the top of the weir. So this will actually even reduce the amount of backflow we have currently coming across from the intercoastal when we experience the king tides or the super high tides. This will get it down to hopefully one or two events a year at the most, that water will actually be backfeeding into our system from the intercoastal. So there's a couple of different improvements going on. Part of it's just the pump replacements, and then some enhancements that we're making to it. But those weirs are, I would love to increase them 5 feet, so that way the water never comes back at us. But unfortunately, we have to rely on the Water Management District as well as DEP to decide final how much we can go and what makes sense. So they try to keep us at the minimum we can do to keep from having that coming back and assuring that that doesn't happen.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mesa?
Same as Mr. Bill, I'm curious as to how long we've had this pump for, curious as to how long it's been with us. Out of curiosity too, I don't know, you weren't the director yet, but I can't remember if Chris was or elected yet, but I can recall that the basin in that area was redone. Do you recall?
So we did have to replace a pipe that was crossing that canal. So we did actually pump and bypass around it to do that as part of the 12th Street project that we did, but it was a completely unrelated project of moving sewer across underneath that canal.
And because I remember on the south end of the actual long retention pond between 9th and 4th, I think it is, I know that wall was added. I was just trying to figure out when it was. If you're...
I know they did some enhancements on the all the way east end, then that was part of phase 2 of the downtown improvement project. That was also their laydown yard for Petticoat Schmidt when they did that first amount. That was going on when I first got here 5 years ago. I think that carried a year and a half beyond me getting here, and then they get finished with that one, and then now, like I said, now they're started on phase 4 and 5 downtown. So part of that enhancements on the very east end to even include some of the Parks and Rec stuff that got added down on that east end was all after we got the contractor out of that area, and then they made improvements to that area itself.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes. Item 2.
I move that we authorize the mayor and city manager to negotiate and execute any contract as a result of this bid award.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. I do not see Taylor Mops. Heather, you got this one? Ms. Ireland?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Heather Ireland, Planning and Development. Ms. Mobbs is at the FRA conference this week, learning and teaching. She is actually moderating one session, and she's the instructor or presenter for 2 sessions. So hopefully she'll have a report out back to you guys when she returns. This item, staff is requesting approval to contract with HAF for Latham Plaza Engineering Services. As you recall, we had several public meetings on this item. Our first design that we presented to the community council and the CRA, I think Mayor Hoffman, you used the words, we overshot the design a little bit. So while we didn't completely go back to the drawing board, we did sit down with the plans for several hours with HAF and several meetings to address all the concerns we heard from the community, the event promoters council, and the CRA. We also met individually with 3 of our event promoters to discuss what their needs, concerns, issues, and questions are. Those meetings went really well. I would like to thank them. I know some of them are here. I'd like to thank them for taking out time to meet with us and give us their feedback. It was really helpful for us to move forward. So what we're asking for now is to move forward with this second design, which is up on your screen, and just to give a little bit of more detail than, I can't read that, I don't know about y'all, I can't even read this one. But basically, all the circles, the numbered circles that are in red are items that are going to wait or be part of phase 2 of this project. So that would be basically the lawn areas, both the Latham Plaza and the Seawalk Pavilion part of the lawn. Those are areas that are not going to be touched unless absolutely necessary at this time. We feel that that will allow some of the events to continue while we focus on the perimeter of this plan. We heard from council and the CRA to not only kind of shrink things a little bit, condense our active area or amenity space, if you will, to the westernmost third of the Latham Plaza side, since this area is somewhat unusable for the festivals anyway. Again, we appreciate meeting with the event promoters to talk about how this might impact Deck the Chairs, Spraying the Blues, Oktoberfest, just to name a few. We know we have many wonderful events, and I'm so sorry. This is the first year I had to miss Spraying the Blues, and I apologize. In 22 years, I was very upset. Anyway, I'm here to answer questions. All the details and the scope are in your handout from HAF. We do have a representative here from HAF if you have questions that I am unable to answer.
Thank you. And a motion?
I move that we approve an agreement with HAF for Latham Plaza Engineering Services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Mesa,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Mr. Scott.
Good evening, Council. Dustin Scott, Payroll and Benefits Administrator. Today I'm requesting the Council approve RFP number 08-2324 for group medical and prescription insurance to Florida Blue. Florida Blue is the city's current medical insurance provider and the single respondent to the RFP. In addition to Florida Blue, the RFP was sent out to the other three largest medical insurance providers, but they declined to provide a proposal. Florida Blue's proposal of a 0% increase is within the city's budget projections. The city had the option of signing the final 2-year extension of our contract with Florida Blue, but decided to submit an RFP. This was due to, at the time, the failing contract negotiations with Florida Blue and Baptist Health. Baptist Health is the largest single provider of care to the city of Jacksonville Beach employees. And so it's very important to administration that we have a health insurance provider that included Baptist Health as being in network. After our RFP closed, Florida Blue and Baptist Health came to an agreement that allows Baptist Health to remain in network, which we were all very excited about. There are a couple novel items from the RFP that I would like to mention. One is that Florida Blue has quoted us a 0% increase in premiums to our current plan offerings for 2025. And second is that Florida Blue has guaranteed the city a minimum pro share return of $250,000 for 2025 alone. City administration intends to use these funds to buy down any future cost increase to keep premiums as low as possible for employees. Future premium increases could be substantial with this new contract with Baptist Health and not knowing what exists in that. The city has used these pro-share funds for several years to help reduce the costs, allowing employees to not see an increase in their HMO premiums in 5 years, which I think is a great recruiting tool. I'm also requesting that you delegate authority to the city manager to approve and execute all subsequent renewals through the maximum contract period of 6 total years, consisting of 3 2-year agreements. The main driver for this request is timing. I have provided a slide up there that shows the health insurance renewal timeline. We received our quote from Florida Blue for the next year in late August. We will bring it to council in September. After it's approved, we create an open enrollment materials, and our broker loads their system with new rates and any changes for that year. Our broker has advised us that that takes at least 3 weeks to complete, especially if there's any major changes during a given year. In late October, early November, we do open enrollment for the employees where they start verifying and implementing the changes for the January 1st effective date. For the city's purchasing guidelines, the RFP process takes approximately 120 days. If I were to bring the renewal to council, say next September, and the council were to deny the renewal, that would not leave enough time for the RFP process and to complete the rest of the tasks that would need to be completed for health insurance to be effective on January 1st. Also, I believe that council can take some comfort in knowing that our broker negotiates on our behalf to keep our rates as low as possible and has our best interest in mind. In the past 5 years, the city's health insurance premium increases have been primarily due to plan improvements, and like I said, the employees haven't soaked up any of that the city has taken that burden on. I'm here to answer any of your questions, and also have with me today 2 representatives from Aventrus, our insurance broker, Corey Rawlson, and Wes Wingate.
Thank you, Dustin. And before we have a motion, Mr. Sutton?
Thanks, and I'm happy I'm sure along with everybody else in Northeast Florida, that we got the contract with Baptist completed, and good news for hopefully years and years to come. And I agree with you, Dustin. The Aventrus is certainly a best-in-class broker here in Northeast Florida that we value as well as a partner with them at Florida Blue. Given my leadership position at Florida Blue, I will recuse myself on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Mr. City Attorney?
I just wanted to add that, Mr. Sutton, the state statute does not prohibit you from discussing this in any way. So even though you're not going to vote, if there's any board discussion, feel free to take part in it.
Thank you. And a motion on item 1, please.
I move that we award RFP number 08-2324 for group medical and prescription insurance to Florida Blue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen?
Yes.
Councilmember Meza?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton?
Abstention?
Does he have to say abstain?
No.
Okay. Abstain. Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman?
Yes, motion carries. Item 2.
I move that we delegate authority to the city manager to approve and execute all subsequent renewals through the maximum contract period.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Meza?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton? Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen?
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman?
Yes, motion carries. Mr. Seeley.
Good evening. Mayor Hoffman, City Council. Matthew Seeley, Electrical Engineering Project Supervisor for Beaches Energy Services. And tonight, I'm here to discuss something we haven't discussed here in nearly 20 years, streetlight rates. Or, if with your permission, we'd like to call them outdoor lighting services. So, recently, due to the excessively difficulty getting all the parts we have and the increasing costs of our existing lights that you're familiar with, the high pressure sodium, the amber ones, and the mercury vapor up and down First Street, the time is right to move to LED and to convert our system to LED. At the same time, we're making that happen. The LEDs are significantly more energy efficient, but they tend to cost more upfront than our other ones. If you think about it, when an LED fails, you have to replace that entire fixture. In the old days, we just changed the bulb. And so at the same time, it seems like the right time to kind of bring out our lighting program and update it. And so one of the major changes we're recommending for your approval is to no longer offer that upfront 3-year rate. So normally if you request a light from Beaches Energy Services, we'll offer you to recover those capital costs in the first 3 years, and then you pay them after 3-year rate. We're recommending to just pay that upfront. So if you think about it, that fixed cost to recover those capital costs was established in 2005. Those costs have increased significantly since then. And so we think to fairly accurately and timely recover those capital costs and protect our ratepayers, the best way to do that is to charge them up front if you're requesting new lights for all work to be encompassed at that time for the current prices. The second part of that then is going to be that after rate. So your normal rate once we did. The way we derive this rate, and I'm going to try to summarize weeks, months, over a year of kind of research, talking to other utilities, how they're doing it. And no 2 utilities is doing this the same way. And we have this massive Excel workbook that kind of calculates all these different formulas. But with LEDs, the nice thing about them, they've been out there for a while. And so we actually have some pretty good data. So what we're able to do for the different kind of categories, so if you're familiar with the old rates, we had like a 70-watt, colonial, just very specific. We've kind of just made that more generic, like standard post-op, historic post-op, things like that. And what we did is we took that data and said, okay, it comes with a 10-year warranty on the LED now. So that kind of takes that burden off our ratepayers and those running those lights. So we can figure that in. And we would take the future cost and basically say, okay, how long is this light expected to last? We have money in the budget to convert our entire system to LED in the next 10 years. So that allowed us to take a 10-year window and say, okay, whatever that future 10-year window is, let's just calculate that future average replacement cost of those fixtures divided by the number of months, and then we basically protected our ratepayers. So that's how we're recovering that cost when you see those rates for those different lights. It's just looking at that expected future date. We'll put that into our mapping system so we know when it's coming due. We can budget accordingly for knowing what's due to be replaced in that next year. Again, we kind of change that philosophy to an outdoor lighting service instead of just sort of street light rates. The nice thing about LEDs is we can, the existing lights just kind of throw. If you're used to the security light or the barnyard light, that's kind of what we call those round lights that you see up and down the streets. These LEDs, we're going with the street kind of things. I'm not going to get into all the details, believe me. I've never looked at lights as much as I have for the last year, everywhere I'm going. But they're pretty neat because you can actually tailor the glass around each LED to disperse the light. So what we're going to do is take that light that was round, sort of stretch it out along the road and the sidewalk. And so I think we'll have a much better application of lighting in our residential neighborhoods. We are staying with the warmer colors like 2700 and 3000. It seems like a majority of the research shows 4000 isn't the desired route. Although you ask one person, they're going to say warm, and the next person is going to say that 4,000, and somebody else will say 5,000. So, but the majority shows they like the warmer lights, the soft white, as being more welcoming, inviting, comfortable, things like that. And so we'll go with that consistent lighting throughout the city. So with that, Ashley is available for any other questions. Yeah, throw her in the bell. So we've been working on this a lot lately, and it's just been, yeah, we're ready to put it back, so for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Can we, Madam Clerk, will you read the resolution by title, please?
A resolution of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, adopting a schedule for rates, sizes, and styles for outdoor lighting services provided by Beaches Energy Services, providing for adoption of recitals, repeal of prior inconsistent resolutions and council decisions, severability, and an effective date.
And a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2174-2024, adopting outdoor lighting service rates for Beaches Energy Services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Mesa.
Just a quick question. So, have you driven down State Road 16, like going towards St. Augustine if you get off on 95?
Yes.
All right, so you know that stretch, there's like white lights, LED lights, and there's these purple ones.
We are avoiding those, yes. So that was a manufacturer defect, yes. And we have been very selective in the manufacturer we're choosing. And so right now we're sticking with Cooper. We are getting some other lights to test, but we are avoiding. The blue light was not intentional. It was actually a coating that put on there that failed. And so by just by itself, an LED is blue. That's actually what they use, and they put coatings on it to make it more yellow, white, whatever.
So it wasn't their intention, like, let's get these purple lights?
No.
Okay.
I asked myself, it was 95, I-95 down by I-4, where I first saw them a while back, and I'm like, wait, I thought blue light was bad. So now all of a sudden everybody's going purple, so no, that's not intentional.
Okay, so the lights we'll get will be...
They'll actually be the 2700 Kelvin, which is the soft white, and the 3000 Kelvin color temperature. So if you go to Home Depot, you'll be able to figure that out pretty quickly. That's some warmer lights.
All right, thank you.
Good question, yes.
Maybe you were wanting purple lights, were you?
I was thinking of Prince, but...
Or Fletcher. I mean, come on, double pay.
Hey, I'm open to anything. If you want, you're city council, you drive this.
I cannot wait to go to Home Depot and see what light is my favorite. I'll let you know. Mr. Jansen.
Just a quick question. So the replacement of the lights, is it upon failure, or is it just going to be take it in chunks at a time, or how's that work?
So we have money budgeted starting next fiscal year to actually target replacements on entire areas like MSD, for example, entire service territory, that we'll start doing batches of them. We'll identify starting next fiscal year. This year it'll be as they fail, or if it makes sense where it's like there's going to be 3 in a row or something, we'll just go and change the additional one as it makes sense, but it won't be wholesale till starting next year. And then we have money budgeted for 5 years to complete the entire system.
Thank you.
Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, and I hit my button. Pretty excited.
Was that all you had to say?
That was it.
Okay, Mr.
So as you go through the process of identifying areas to replacing the lights that are there, is there going to be any additional assessment done on whether there's needed lights that aren't there right now? So maybe William Street, outside Seabreeze, things like that?
That's a great question. So the one thing about when we selected this light, one of the reasons we really like Cooper is they provide an app called Light Architect. And you're welcome to go out there on the web and look up Cooper Light Architect. And it will actually let us find kind of a simple design with their lights. So yes, we're doing some lighting on Jacksonville Drive, where we had to take our poles out, we were converting it underground. And that's exactly what we did. We kind of plotted on there to look and see if there's any inconsistent, met with Public Works to say, would it make sense to add a pole here? They agreed. So we are trying to look at that now and actually, just what makes sense instead of just maybe an intersection and it's dark all around there. So we do have that opportunity now.
That is super. So hopefully we do it.
Yes.
And then in areas like, let's say Seabreeze Woods, where there's clearly it looks like the developers put in the lights, they're very different than lights. Will those be replaced, or because they're very small, they don't light up much?
So,
or how does something like that work?
If an HOA can approach us at any time and request for us to kind of work out, they'll give us the conduit and the infrastructure and we'll put in the lights. I don't know if they own those or if they do.
Well, so there's no active, in that, I just happen to know about that neighborhood because I happen to live there. There is no active HOA.
There's no active HOA. So is it Public Works? It's Jacksonville Beach.
This might be a level of specificity that could.
Well,
I was just curious how they should go through and replace things that are old and.
Right now, we're targeting the oldest ones. So if you know, like the ones around here, the historicals, those tend to last a really, really long time. They'll last 20, 30 years, no problem, sometimes even longer if they're in the shade. The standard ones, kind of the fiberglass, just very generic-ish looking ones, 3 to 5 years. But we've upped our standard on those, so we should get a lot more out of that. So we tend to look at where they're really fading and compromised physically, and we're going to target those first to replace. So inadequate lighting, that's something we'd have to work on with them. If that's what you're talking, like it's just not well lit.
It's kind of both, but that was just in that example, but there are many, many other examples.
Right now, most of the HOAs reached out to us. They don't hesitate and tell us, like, these lights look like junk and, please come. And so that's kind of what we're working with right now.
Mr. Jansen?
Another great topic for Take Two Tuesdays.
Mr. Warren?
Sorry.
No, I just want to ask, we're not replacing bulbs, because obviously we're going from bulbs to LEDs. So are we replacing just the fixtures on the top? Are we actually replacing the poles? Are they compatible? Is there a way to?
They are compatible with our existing, so we have found existing ones, that actually you can get different types of attachments and all that. So we've worked to develop what's going to work for our system.
So basically just a fixture at the top?
But it is a fixture, yes. So
Okay,
there's
so
no more changing
not
balls, there's no
poles,
more working.
okay.
If it fails, you take it off and put a new one on, reconnect it, and we're done. So.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Golding?
Matt, thank you for your amazing explanation of all the things that obviously you've put a lot of time into it. But going back to the explanation about the lights and how they'll be able to be more, like in the neighborhoods, more horizontal along the streets and the sidewalks. Does that mean that, the shades or whatever that we would see that were sprayed black because the light, because the neighbors were complaining about the lights bothering them, we won't have that issue anymore? Exactly.
So you're not going to have that light. If you actually look at it, it does stop that backlight. You don't have the light kind of just shining on the house. And again, they call those security lights because it was supposed to shine everywhere, on the barn doors or barnyard lights, whatever we call them. So now it's actually it's called Type 2U, Type 2, which is roadway urban. So it's kind of that roadway and then just back behind the pole a little bit, which would be the sidewalk. So that's the intent to stop. It's kind of just behind the sidewalk, and we won't have that spray paint shields anymore.
So do we know that ultimately we won't have any residents calling and saying that something needs to be done about the light shining in the windows?
You're going from an orange light to a 2700, so chances are you will get some people noticing it, but we do also have that real low profile shield that if we have to, it's called a house side shield. We can just bolt it up there. It's real low profile and take any additional backlighting out if we need to.
Okay.
In certain situations.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other additions to this robust discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Sutton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Moving on to item B, Mr. Fatidis, or resolution B.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jason Fatidis, Parks and Recreation. This item, we are asking Council to approve by resolution a revised special events policy. If you recall, we met a couple of times over the past few months, and we agreed that there were some revisions necessary to the policy, specifically to help us better administer and manage the policy. If you adopt it tonight, we're asking that it become effective November 1st of this year. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. And before we read the resolution, we have one speaker card, Mr. Alex Costas. If you'd like to come up and address the council, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Hope you're all having a great evening. And I guess we're the last, frankly. I had a chance to review the special events policy, and there's one section that I do not agree with, and just wanted to share my thoughts with you and my perspectives on it. And it has to do with Chapter 5, General Policies, Item H, ticket sales. And I'll quote the item. No special event will be considered that requires paid admission. Paid priority eating is allowed only in the Seawalk Pavilion as long as at least 1/2 or 50% of the Seawalk Pavilion lawn is open and free to the general public. Latham Plaza must remain free and open to the public. I asked the City Council and the City Government to reconsider this rule and allow special event ticketed sales at Seawalk Pavilion lawn and Latham Plaza for the following reasons. The event producer would be less dependent on alcohol sales to make the event financially viable. That is one source of income is alcohol sales, sponsorships, and there are other aspects, but alcohol sales tend to be the predominant source of income for any producer. Less alcohol consumption increases public safety. The revenue generated by a ticketed event will allow the event producer to attract and pay for higher quality entertainment. I mean, right now, it's not to say that the quality that we're getting has been bad, but we can also attract other acts that you might get downtown or down in St. Augustine. The event producer, the City of Jacksonville Beach, and the TDC, the Tourist Development Board, can track where attendees are coming from to determine economic impact of the event. So if you're ticketing it, you're going to have data on each attendee, and especially when it comes to awarding grants for 2 event producers and 1 for attracting tourists, we would know them by zip code where these attendees are coming from. Knowing beforehand the number of attendees will help with crowd control. The police department and event producer will know how many people are attending and plan accordingly. There will be improved communication with attendees. Producers can send event-related information directly to attendees via email or via text message, and this could include schedule, weather, or traffic updates. The event producer can also send post-event surveys to attendees to understand participants' reactions, learnings, suggestions for improvement, and help us determine ROI. And this is data then that can go back to the TDC as well as to the city government to say, okay, look, did we get what we expected out of this event? Other cities in Florida allow ticketed events at public parks, including Tampa, St. Petersburg, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami-Dade County. Those are some of those communities in Florida. Before adopting this policy, I would like to, the City Council should consider the following, benchmark what other cities are doing to understand the pros and cons of ticketed events, as well as consider a local event in 2025 to test the pros and cons of ticketing, so to do a pilot. So those are my thoughts, and I know this is a process that has been going on for a while, and I know we keep updating it, and I'm hoping as you consider future events in 2025 that you take these recommendations into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costas. Madam Clerk, will you read the resolution by title, please?
A resolution of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, adopting a revised special event policy, providing for adoption of recitals, repeal of prior inconsistent resolutions and policies, and providing an effective date.
And a motion, please.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2182-2024, adopting the revised special events policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions and discussion? Mr. Horn?
I would just say I'm happy to see that we've been able to adjust some things, address some of the concerns in the community. I know this is probably not going to be the final. There's different people that have different opinions about, how we should address this. But I'm happy to see a lot of the things that are in here. I'm happy to see the reduction in some of the events. Not that I'm anti-festival. I think it taxes our city services, it taxes our police department. It puts a lot of stress on the community. And I think we're going to keep working towards this. And as we finally figure out where we want downtown to be, and again, that's been another overarching commentary that I've heard during this campaign season, and from Chief Gene Paul, and from some of the citizens, we as a collective body, and this is just a commentary to everybody up on the dais, we need to decide what we want the downtown to look like. And then we're going to keep working in that direction. So I'm happy to see this, and I just want to say thank you for doing this.
Mr. Sutton?
A couple of different items here. Help me remember, Jason, our discussions around ticketed events and the concerns around that. I know there were concerns from the community as far as charging for events because that's our public space and we should have access to it. And then there were some concerns, I believe, as it related to the combination of a ticketed event and increase in alcohol. But that's an interesting comment that Mr. Costas made with the regard to decrease in alcohol potentially with the ticketed event. But I remember there being the concern with there being an increase in alcohol with that. So I just can't remember. And anybody else that can refresh my memory up here.
Well, as I recall, the council did ask us to look into a pilot program, and we did. We developed an RFP for one single ticketed event, but we withheld that when the plans for the Latham Plaza redesign kind of, didn't get us where we wanted to be. So we, not knowing a certain date, kind of held us back. But in talking with the mayor, I understand that you'd like us to move ahead with that. So we will brush that off and put that out there, and obviously talk with event producers like Mr. Crosses to get some input from them and put that forward as a pilot program. And that we would aim to do sometime in fiscal 2025.
Thanks. My second question is to you, Mr. Magette. I brought up on March 18th after what happened the day before, my interest in the need, I thought, to tighten up our special event policy as it related to gatherings in the Central Business District or on the beach proper adjacent to the Central Business District. Do you think, Mr. Magette, that this advances us in any way toward that?
I met with staff on a few different occasions over the last few months to work on this. So I want to just say I'm not an expert on the best methods, but from speaking with them, I think we are working towards that goal. I think this does improve things. I just don't want to say this is perfect because that's not my area of expertise, but I think we are working towards that goal, and I think this will improve it. I'm just not sure how valid my opinion is, but that is my opinion that we're getting there.
Thank you. I think it is a step toward that if we look at this as a work in progress. So.
Ms. Golding?
I want to ask for clarification because in the special events policy, it states that festival hours are restricted to Fridays 5 p.m. till 10 p.m., Saturdays 12 until 10 p.m., Sundays 12 until 8 p.m. And I know we had Oktoberfest just this past weekend, and that festival was 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday. So does that mean that this policy will then require that a festival like that would have to have their hours from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.?
No, I don't believe we changed the hours of the festival, Ms. Golding, so I'd have to look into, I believe Oktoberfest should have been 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday. So I'll look into that. I don't believe that they should have opened doors at noon on Friday.
The website, I was looking at their website and I was pretty sure it said 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. both days, so I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood, but.
Yeah, as far as I know, they were still setting up and had not opened doors until 5 p.m. on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wagner?
So I want to kind of piggyback off Councilor Sutton's comments. I also believe that this is taking us a big step in the right direction. Not perfect, but really getting us there. And the piece that I wanted to share so that folks can kind of connect the dots is some of the events that we had around St. Patty's Day, there were some concerns around our ability to manage a non-permitted event. And so what this policy, or what these changes do is they provide our police force and the city team better tools and definitions with which to help manage those situations that are unpermitted. And just by that activity alone, I think we've made great strides. Again, we don't know how close to perfect we're going to get, and we're going to continue to work at it. But I really do want to thank you and your team, the process for allowing us all to contribute, to have our voices heard. And I really do appreciate it, because I really do think all of the important work, this is the other part of the really important work we did related to what the police chief shared earlier in this session. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Wagner. We do appreciate the feedback that we received from you guys in going through this process. Thank you.
Mr. Mesa?
Yes, just to clarify to Ms. Councilmember Golden, yeah, they didn't open until 5 p.m. Yeah, they're still setting up. So I think if they would have started at 12, I think city's manager's office is right there. I think he would have said, no, not at all. So now the question that I have is on, what chapter is this? Chapter 5, letter T, on smoking is prohibited at special events. The question I have, are we going to make sure we add the other stuff that might be legalized here?
I'm not sure what stuff you're referring to, Mr. Mesa.
No, chapter 5, letter T, smoking is prohibited at special events.
Okay.
Obviously, I know what smoking means. I think it's both, but is there going to be any more clarification if?
I think that might be a premature question to ask.
There may be an opportunity to define smoking at some point, I think is really what we're talking about. So just go.
I understand.
Pretty much. I know, I'm just thinking of it.
I just want to thank you and your team for the work and the council for their candor in this discussion. I think it's pretty well known that I do support dipping our toe in the pool of ticketed events for all the reasons that you very eloquently expressed. So I do think that this is something we should give it a try and see how it goes. I think there are plenty of benefits that we can be realized. I don't ever see us going to exclusively ticketed events, but I think we can see what that might look like for our community. One thing I did ask Mr. Stefopoulos to ensure happens is that when this is approved, that we have a face-to-face with our event promoters, that we are usual suspects that are there every year to go through this with them and not just email it to them, but actually go through, answer questions. They may see things that we haven't seen yet, and really make sure that they understand the implementation of this new policy. So I would appreciate that being a face-to-face meeting versus just an email, especially as they're starting to plan their 2025 events. Seeing no other lights on the board, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golden,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.